Estaremos empezando en 2 minutos, esperando que terminen de conectarse. Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Vamos a dar inicio a este Vive la Experiencia Unibe virtual de la carrera Bachelor of Business Administration, o mejor conocida como BBA en Unibe. Gracias por estar aquí. Vamos justo a empezar para respetar el tiempo de todos los aquí presentes. Mi nombre es Diana Polanco, yo soy la directora de la carrera. Estoy aquí a la orden, mucho gusto. Cualquier pregunta, cualquier duda, pueden realizarla en el chat. Estaremos proactivamente respondiendo sus preguntas y luego al final del proceso también podemos puntualizar en cosas específicas si así lo requieren. Es decir, que cualquier duda, cualquier pregunta, estamos a la orden. Voy a compartir mi pantalla de manera que puedan ver la presentación. Como hablamos, usted vive la experiencia Unibe. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí en la tarde de hoy. Aunque estemos online, créanme que estamos bastante cerca uno de otros, así que estamos para servirle, estamos a la orden. Si no me escuchan o lo que sea, por favor, no puedo verlos ahora mismo. Cualquier cosa, pues me dejan saber el equipo de apoyo, por favor. Nuevamente, mi nombre es Diana Polanco, soy la directora de la carrera. Naisa está aquí con nosotros también, quien es la asistente académica y normalmente quien da soporte a los estudiantes con relación a todos los procesos internos, con relación a los tipos de asignaturas, calificaciones o cualquier situación que se requiera de parte de la escuela. Somos muy abiertos a escuchar cualquier duda, cualquier pregunta y sobre todo conocemos este proceso y cómo poder ayudarlos para que tengan un mejor desempeño en todo este tiempo. Una de las partes más interesantes de este proceso es realmente ¿por qué estudiar BBA? Why do we go to International Business School? Why do we want to do a 3+1 program? In general, in life, opportunities do not happen. You have to create them. So you can see right now, if you think about the COVID situation and the pandemic, people have to reinvent themselves, okay? If it were easy, everybody will be able to do so, okay? But it's not easy. So if you really want to be better, you have to commit to that and create those opportunities. Why exactly do we do in the BBA program? Well, we're a dual degree with Unibe, which is Universidad Iberoamericana, and Florida International University in Miami, Florida, and Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan. One of the great attributes that we have as a career is that we give you the opportunity to be a well-rounded professional, national and international in the same amount of time. And that's extremely valuable. Why is that? Because you don't have to take additional time in order to do that for yourself. And normally with additional time, it comes additional money. So in that case, you're able to get, in order to be a well-rounded professional, national and international, with multicultural knowledge and global business skill sets, okay? Why this is important? Remember that in general, the world already is actually seen as one. We all competing with one another. You're not competing with the people of the Dominican Republic. You're not competing with people from Haiti anymore. You're competing with people worldwide, okay? Because we're a globalized market now. So it is extremely important to be prepared in order for you to handle those type of situations, and also understand how international relations matter in order to make your job more effective. And not even more effective, it's just how can you be more successful doing that. As a student, you're able to get leadership skills and demonstrate them across so many different business disciplines, okay? You are developing proactively short-term and long-term objectives, but the most important part of that is making sure that you are set to encourage change, innovation, and constant advancement. As we see in the day-to-day lives, this is the determinant of success. If you don't find a way to adjust to what's going on, you will be actually left behind, and somehow you end up dying, we'll say as in a professional matter, of course. So integrate all of that, apply the critical thinking, the decision making in order to thrive in any business environment. One of the great attributes about business school is a great platform in order for you to do whatever that you're planning to do. Like if I ask you right now, what type of majors are you looking to choose if you decided to be with us in this career? You will see that people will have so many different things that they really want to do. And the great thing about us as a dual degree program and as a BBA program is we have the platform in order for you to actually do that in the same amount of time, getting 2 degrees at once. One of the great things about Unibe, and it's extremely important, every time I talk to students, the most important part is that every time you look at a university, you have to look at the rankings. Not because we are Unibe or because we're FIU or because we're WMU. Whatever university you're looking at, you have to make sure that you look at that information, because that is how much your degree is worth. Your diploma, that piece of paper that you get 4 years down the road, it actually have to be valued based on the reputation for the program, for the university, and whatsoever. So as Unibe, we are #1 university in the country according to QS rankings. We are the first bilingual university in the Dominican Republic. As a BBA program, we are the only English taught program in the business arena in the Dominican Republic, okay? We are part of Quality Matters. All of those things are extremely valuable because they actually get you to compete in an international site, okay? We do have a comprehensive plan of study. What does that mean? It's interesting. Remember that I just said, in the same amount of time, you're able to get 2 degrees at once in a 3+1 program. What does it? That means that you're able to articulate your curriculum nationally, internationally, and that means that everything that you take at Unive, it will be transferred to the American University, and everything that you take in the American University, it will be transferred back, okay? So that articulation is extremely valuable because sometimes you say, hey, I'm going to start in a university, now I want to move to the States or I want to move to Europe, and now I have to start looking around to see if they're going to actually receive or not some of the credits. So that's extremely valuable and important for you. You don't have to duplicate courses or classes or anything like that. The professors, that's extremely valuable in any specific plan of study. Okay, you have to have expertise and qualifications in their specific business areas, and that's what we bring to the table. Normally, our professors are either international professors living in the Dominican Republic or also international professors that come to the Dominican Republic from FIU and WMU in order to teach classes. Also, we have Dominican professors that already have a lot of experience in international markets, and they also have a professional experience and also an educational experience in normally in the United States or any English-speaking country. So It is a great opportunity. Like if somebody right now is teaching you accounting, for example, you will see that that person will be the financial controller or the accountant for a major bank in the country. That counts for a lot because that's the expertise that you have to bring into the table. You have to do things by making and doing things in a day-to-day and making different things at once. It's not about the theory. Theory is important, but what we do with that and how we translate to that to actual things is what make a difference. The internship opportunities, you will have opportunities in the Dominican Republic that you have to put into perspective, but you're also going to have internship opportunities that you can take into consideration in the United States. That's a great attribute. Why? Because the majority of the time you feel like, hey, you know, if I decided not to go to the United States, oh, well, my friend that decided to go for 4 years, he will be able to do an OPT, which is an optional practical training, and I'm not able to do so. No. If you decided to go with us in a 3+1 program, or if you decided to go on your own based on the immigration law of the United States, you're able to get your 12 months of OPT in the United States. That's also a great attribute that you can take into consideration. Is that a great advantage for that? So we talked about 2 degrees at once. We talked about the accreditation level, the articulation problem. How do you meet new people and create a diversified network? This is extremely valuable and extremely important, okay? At the end, all those networks and all those connections that you make within business school in the Dominican Republic are extremely valuable when you decided to go to work for somebody, to open your business, to work for the family business, to work for a multinational corporation. You need to understand that that's extremely valuable. Normally, you will have the best of both worlds. If you decided to leave, for example, and say, oh no, I'm gonna take 4 years in an American university, by the time that you decided to come back 5, 7, 10 years later, you will not have that network in the country. So it will be more difficult for you as a professional in order to be able to compensate with all of that. Because if you need to meet business people, you meet business people in a business program of ours, okay? So this probably is the most valuable thing that you can get from that is a global, as we call it, the global and the local at the same time. Major and certificates. Every time you get into a specific program, you say, hey, I want to major into something, or how we call it in the Dominican Republic. For example, we want las concentraciones or los certificados. That's exactly what you have to look at, okay? The great thing about a program is that you're going to have those 2 degrees. In the Dominican Republic, you're going to graduate with a licenciatura en Administración de Empresas con una concentración en negocios internacionales, mercadeo, finanzas, lo que decidas escoger. Also, the great advantage is that you're going to have another major in the United States. And the great thing about it is that you can combine majors. We have close to 40-something students right now in the United States, both in FIU and WMU at the same time, and they're doing different things. Some of them, the majority of them, are doing international business and marketing, international business and finance, or they're doing, let's say, advertising and promotion with a minor in global business, or they're doing management and they're doing something else in business analytics. The great thing about that is like everything that you have within the College of Business, you're able to take within the umbrella for the 3+1 program with the BBA program. So it's a great opportunity because you're going to have very specific skill sets that normally you don't even have that in our country as at this point. So normally when our students come back to the country, they're pinpoint and companies are looking for them like a needle in the haystack right away. Great things, for example, our specific students, whoever's doing right now international business and finance, they're doing 2 majors at once, and they also get a certificate in international bank management. whoever is doing international business and marketing right now is able to get a certificate in entrepreneurship, and that is at no cost and not additional time. That means that you're gonna get 2 majors and a certificate in the same amount of time without paying additional money. That's extremely valuable. And the great thing is that you're able to get that because of the type of a curriculum that we handle together, the different universities. So it's a great opportunity for you to actually have different things to look at. You always talks about potential career opportunities because we're so diverse. It is extremely difficult for me to tell you right now, hey, you can get into this specific market, or you can do this, or you can do that. But overall, you can be an entrepreneur. Remember that every time you graduate from the business school, you have to pass human resources, you have to pass economics, finance, marketing, logistics, supply chain, anything that had to do with a day-to-day situation of a company. You have to go through accountancy, you have to go through all of that. So you need to understand the company from the inside out in order to make sure that you can handle a company later on, okay? So you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a financial manager, a trade executive, account executive, a project manager, and director of operations, a CEO, a general manager, purchasing agent. For example, I went to school in a dual degree, and I did 2 majors, which is international business and marketing. Actually, I'm working for the family business as well as working for Unibe in the logistics and purchasing department, for example. So I buy products and goods and services from all over the world, and I bring it, we import them into the country. We represent different brands, and I'm able to do that because I'm able to, I have all this knowledge and all the skill sets to work towards that. So as I say, the world is your oyster, and you're able to do whatever it is that you want to do with all the different things that we have to offer. Admission requirements, you will see that they're in Unibe's webpage. But in general, the main difference between a regular type of application at Unibe and a BBA application at Unibe is I had to present a TOEFL score, for example, or you can have your high school transcripts if you graduated from an American accredited high school, okay? If you graduate from American high school, that means that you just have to be there for 4 years straight, and you're able to get an exception out of the TOEFL score. One of the great things about that is also FIU and WMU use the same admission requirements for you, which means that you're able to present those high school transcripts as well, okay? As of right now, you need to get a TOEFL of 80 points or above in order to make sure that you submit our requirements. Another thing that you have to put into perspective is an essay discussing a current issue within the business scope. That is very, very simple. It is a very open subject. We have so many questions about it, but it's a very open subject, even for you to talk about what do you want to study business, or how's the Bitcoin doing right now, and how you think that might impact the financial markets in the future, or something like that. If you already took the SIT, for example, that adds to your dossier, which means to your admission process. If you have a specific grade that is less than 2 years old and you have more than 1,000 points, we're able to basically get you an exception into the Unibe entrance exam, okay? So the main different things is actually that. Sometimes students ask about what happened if we have problems due to the pandemic or something like that, to go ahead and take a TOEFL. Until the summer of 2021, we're able to actually receive Duolingo, which is actually a different type of test. And we're able to receive that for you to be able to process your admission requirements. You need to get 105 points for that exam, but be very clear that if you take Duolingo during this year or until the end of the summer, you will have to present a TOEFL later on in order to do a transfer process. The great thing about this is basically you are kind of like in the fast track lane when you are part of the Unibe and BBA program. Why? Because you have to comply with certain regulations, but as long as you comply with that, with a GPA, a specific GPA, with a TOEFL score or your high school transcripts or anything like that, you're able to actually get there with no problem. I'm going to start with a couple of different videos. If you don't hear them, please shout and let me know, okay?
Hola, mi nombre es Jessica Aja y soy egresada de la carrera de VBA en Unibe. Actualmente soy directora de mercadeo y gerente de ventas para el mercado canadiense de la cadena hotelera Odelpa. Dentro de mis funciones está la comercialización y la promoción de los hoteles, así como también la negociación de contratos y de tarifas. Cuando pienso en mi vida profesional y personal, me doy cuenta que muchas de las cosas que he logrado ha sido gracias a la carrera que escogí. Es que imagínense poder graduarte de una carrera con una doble titulación, poder aprender de un equipo docente altamente calificado con estándares internacionales, poder graduarte de la universidad con una red de contactos internacionales. Durante la carrera yo pude desarrollar mis habilidades gerenciales, de liderazgo, técnicas y comerciales. Y esas son solamente algunas de las cosas que te puedo mencionar. Es una experiencia increíble, enriquecedora, y si estás buscando abrir tus horizontes, te recomiendo que vayas y conozcas un poco más de la carrera de BBA en Unibe.
That's exactly what we have been discussing, the great opportunity to be part of a dual degree, to be able to do an OPT and internship, to get all those connections in different parts of the world and have that opportunity. So you can see here, we have so many different testimonies in order to say, hey, if you wanted to actually get in a competitive labor market, in order to be part of a multinational corporation, making sure that this is probably something you have to consider is a great program for you, okay? It might not be the easiest one, okay? It's important for you to know. It's not that we hand you a passport because we said, oh, we are the International Business School. We hand you a passport and you start putting stamps. No, it's not as simple as that. It requires a lot of work, but it pays off at the end, as you can see in these different testimonies. We're going to have Naomi. I'm not going to read her testimony or go through that because she will actually take a couple of minutes and talk to you about that. Once she's there, and Nisa, please let me know so we can give her time or hold on. Okay, Naomi, if you want to go ahead, you can say it yourself in a couple of minutes. And
thank you, Ms. Diana. Hello, guys. As Ms. Diana mentioned, my name is Naomi Di Coco. I graduated 2017 from the BBA. I left for Miami in 2016 and had a wonderful year over there. I was able to take advantage of all the opportunities FIU had to offer. I really made a lot of effort to take advantage of all the clubs, of all the extracurricular activities that are offered over there, and I really encourage you guys to do that too. That allowed me to find my first internship in Miami at New Link, which is a marketing agency. I was able to be an intern there for 6 months, and it really changed my perspective on how the work market works, having a U.S. perspective with also a Latin perspective, because Miami has a lot of Latin culture, so that was a very interesting experience for me. Then after that, I was able to do the OPT, which is also a great opportunity that is offered by the student visa that we get to have by going to Miami. So I worked over there for a year at Viacom CBS, which is a TV channels network company. It has MTV, Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, many of the channels that you guys may know. So I was able to over there practice my marketing degree, which was one of my 2 concentrations at FIU. It was finance and marketing. So during my time in Miami, I was able to focus on the marketing side. But then when I came back to the Dominican Republic, I switched completely from the marketing industry to the finance industry. So currently I am working at Parval Puesto de Bolsa. It was a really big switch for me because all of my experience was based on marketing. But the fact that I was able to do my dual degree by having the concentration in finance was one of the key factors that allowed me to come into the finance industry. So really having the dual degree helped me a lot to experience different working areas and having the knowledge that both of those industries required, because in all of my classes I literally saw the things that I saw in both of my works. So it was a great experience, and every day I apply things that I learned while studying at FIU and Unibe.
If you have any questions, Naomi is going to be here for a couple of additional minutes. You can add them in the chat, and also if you can share at least your LinkedIn profile, Naomi, so they can connect with you there. And
yes, of course, I'll put it in the chat so you can guys email me with any questions if you're interested in working in the market, the finance market here in the Dominican Republic. We have internship opportunities here at Parval, and I would be glad to help you with anything, maybe revising your CV or anything you might need. I'll be really glad to help.
Thank you. Thank you. And actually, Naomi is actually our BBA delegate for the Alumni Association. And she also was part of a great opportunity that FIU offers to be an international student ambassador. When you're able to actually connect with people around the world, and even when they have visitors like from the consulate or from different students from around the world, they're able to actually show them what everything FIU has to offer and everything like that. And that's also an additional way to network for the student and for everybody involved. So thank you, Naomi.
Oh yes, I completely forgot about my ISA times as an international student ambassador. It was a really great experience. I had 10 students that I had to basically keep close to and show them around the university, help them out with university life. And it was really good for networking. And it also made me feel very good because I was able to help other students get more comfortable with the way they were experiencing a new country. So that was really good. And we also had a lot of activities that helped us bond with each other, get to know our other classmates that were not only the Dominicans, but people from other countries. We had people from China, from France, from Colombia. We had a lot of international students. So that was a great opportunity too.
Yeah, thank you. As you can see, once you get on board with us, basically the world is your oyster. You're able to find different concentrations that are very, very specific. For example, if you browse and if you look back to the concentration page that we discussed, you will see that throughout Western Michigan University, we have very specific concentrations for your BBA program. So if you're looking for something very specific within the marketing arena, within the finance, within the supply chain, we have great opportunities, and that's awesome. And being part of that is extremely valuable. So let's listen to very quickly. This is a testimony from one of our alumni from Western Michigan as well.
Hi guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez Micheli, and it is a pleasure for me to be here with you today, sharing my experience in the BBA program and the opportunity that I had to transfer from Unibe to Western Michigan University in this dual degree program and in my senior year of college. If summing it all up, being able to come from the Dominican Republic to Kalamazoo, Michigan and adapt to a whole new culture was a thrilling experience. But it also provided me with the necessary capabilities and strength to succeed within the sports industry, not only as a professional, but also as an individual. I also managed to make the Dean's List in Hayward College of Business for 3 consecutive semesters, majoring in management and minoring in business analytics. Besides that, I also worked for the NCAA Division I athletics department at Western, which will add value to my CV. And finally, being able to adapt to a fully online semester within the spring semester and this summer, a one semester, was difficult, challenging, but not impossible with all the techniques that we have learned across the way. I thank you for watching this video, and remember that we will reign, and let's go Broncos.
The Broncos are actually the pet for WMU.
Hi,
As you can see, one of the things that he mentioned is that he really is into sports. He's actually working in that arena at this point. I know probably sport management is probably one of the concentrations that people are getting more and more excited these days. You might have the opportunity to do something like that, or in the case of Francisco, you might be able to internship in something around that line, okay? So there's so many opportunities that you can take advantage. This is our plan of study. Our plan of study in the country is fixed in the sense that you have to go through different semesters and taking different classes I talked about. You have to go through the mathematical side, you have to go through the human resources, financial side, macroeconomics, leadership, entrepreneurship, everything that had to do with the marketing part, finance, economics, and all of that. And that will prepare you in order for you, when you decided to transfer, then you're going to be able to make your decision based on your specific needs. But you already will take everything that you need as a base course for you to take that into consideration. So if you have any questions regarding the plan of study, I will be more than happy to discuss it. Remember that you spend 8 semesters, which is actually 4 months. We call it semesters because it's in the same way that it's called in the United States, but it is 4 months of class, and you have 8 semesters at Unibe, and then 1 full academic year. That means 2 or 3 semesters at FIU or WMU, okay? So talked about the rankings and talked about the university. Yeah, when we look at the university, remember that I already mentioned this, look at the rankings. For example, in the case of WMU, in supply chain management, for example, top 5 in the country, in food and consumer packaging marketing, top 5 in the country, in marketing, in digital marketing, in sales, #1 in the country. So it's extremely important that you are getting what you're paying for, and the most important part is that you're getting out of a great program that is actually well ranked. When we look at FIU, for example, later on, you will see that international business, which is actually our more popular major as of this point, it is actually #2 in the country for more than 2 consecutive years. Now you have the online rankings. And now, for example, FIU as a university is already top 10, within the top 10 of schools in the undergraduate level that has a very high skill academic curriculum within the online presence that we actually handle as at this point. So let's watch this video very quickly, and then we can keep going. So you can see here, what can you do with a business degree? Anything. Business degree is the greatest platform for any student in order to keep going with their professional life. So what exactly do we do in the BBA? Or we've been open since 2009. We graduated more than 8 cohorts of students and more than 300 students, okay? We have around 200 active students are enrolled in the program as at this point. And every single year, we actually make a new cohort and then they're able to actually do their dual degree. Is it mandatory for people who enter the BBA to transfer to an American university? No. Do we have 98% of the students that end up transferring? Because we basically are, the concept of the BBA was actually developed to be a great platform for people to actually go to the United States. Is it mandatory? No. This is actually one of the questions that we have sometimes, and then you can graduate from Unibe just itself if you really want to do that. But normally 98% of the students will transfer to the American university. It is an honor for us to say that out of those 300 and something students that would graduate, 60% of them already graduate with honor roll in the Dominican Republic and also in the United States. We have students actually getting awards from the presidents of the universities based on their performance and their leadership skill sets and their academic standing, okay? So we are a great, great program, and our students, once they transfer to the United States, they normally are within the top 20 percentile, you know? We are very, very high when it comes to in the way that you can compete once you're there. As Naomi was saying, we were able to prepare you to do well in every single aspect and scenario that you get yourselves to, okay? So you can see, we go back to the rankings. Number 2 in international business, number 1 in human resources, number 7 marketing programs. In general, you need to think about that and how, if you want to tackle the Latin American global business, definitely you have to be in Miami, and then you have to get to know Miami and all of that, as Naomi was saying, actually. You saw us right there in the map that says the DR, we're number 1 partner for FIU business. So what are the great things that we do while we are on eBay? How do we prepare you in order for making sure that you have the necessary skill sets in order to transfer to an American university and do great, be part of the honor roll and do all of that? Since day 1, since semester 1, we're preparing you to have the skill sets that you need in order to open your own business, in order to work for companies, in order to do it on your own. You need to get your hands dirty since day 1 in order to understand what it encompasses to be an entrepreneur or to be a business manager or anything like that. So since day 1, we do business camps when you have to develop an idea, you have to do interaction with customers, you have to do all of that. We do it in a virtual scenario as well. In a different matter. because of the pandemic, but overall the students get to develop their idea, get their money, try to raise their money, try to sell, their products or services, and then end up getting a profit. So it's a great opportunity for students since they want to be able to understand all of that. Based on what we do on Unibe, the social responsibility side, and also how we interact with internationalization is extremely important for the university. So we get to see that in so many different levels, we're always working with embassies and consulates, understanding their international relations, the business relations, and how all that plays out. So this is probably one of the activities that you have to dig deeper into, understand what are those diversity in the culture, how you can actually export products to those different countries or import products from those different countries and all of that. We have so many different external visits that we take the students as well in order to making sure that you understand how manufacturing process works, how companies are socially responsible and taking care of the environment in so many different levels. How do you operate being an American corporation in the country, being a multinational corporation, or being a Dominican corporation as well. Okay, community service is extremely valuable. It's one of the pillars for Unibe, and also social responsibility. So it's kind of like within our bonds that we have to find a way to give back. And you as an entrepreneur and as a managers and business managers, you will see that you have to get yourself recognized within your community and do things for the best of the people out there, and that will actually at the end will be a retribution for you. What do we do? Well, we also at Unibe, we're able to participate in different activities from our main partners. For example, today actually we have students competing in our sales competition from FIU. Before I enter this meeting, actually, we have one student that within the first round was in number one place actually when I enter this meeting. So we have students competing. As of right now, this year is a virtual event, but normally students are able to go to FIU and compete in the only bilingual English-Spanish sales competition in the country, in all United States. So we're very close to our partners and everything that we do. We have professors coming in and teach you classes, the same type of professors that will have that, and they're actually teaching for you. Once you're there, you can actually be part of so many different things. As Naomi was mentioning, you're part of so many different activities. You can go to different fairs, to different career opportunities, to be part of conferences, for example, in this case, to be able to do internships in Dominican corporations or in international corporations in the Dominican Republic, and also outside, and you get the value of all of that. One of the great attributes as well of the BBA program is that we're able to offer you one of the few distinctions that nobody has in the country, to be part of Sigma Beta Delta, which is an honor society in the United States. And Unibe has a chapter actually, and then you're able to actually be part of that since you are at Unibe. Once you transfer to the American University, then you apply to a different type of honor roll and other honor scholarship. But this is a great opportunity for you as an international student or as just a recent graduate to add that to your resume, because people are looking for you, your leadership skills and your academic standing and all of that. So this is a great open letter for you to actually be able to get in front of a great career opportunity in the United States. As you can see, depending on where you are, there's so many different things that you can do. Graduation, I know where it goes, and I'm there with you in that great time. As you can see, all the Sigma Beta Delta students are able to carry their emblems at graduation at FIU and also as well, or WMU and Unibe itself. So it's a great opportunity for you to be part of that and making sure you take that into consideration. The majority of the questions go towards, do you guys offer scholarships? How do we can get scholarships? It might be a very, we need that help, or not even I need that help. I deserve that because I've been working very hard in order to get that. For example, we help students once they're good to go and ready to transfer. We help the students in order to get different scholarships. These two students that you can see here, they got 50% deduction in their tuition. And remember that be part of the BBA program, you already have a discount close to 30 to 35% in your tuition if you're an international student, because in general, you have a different type of pricing or being part of the dual degree agreement, okay? So we're talking about less time, less money, great exposure, great university, great program, all the opportunities to do the internships as well as you do it if you're there for 4 years. The way to interact with a diverse network of people to get the local and to get the international is just the best of both worlds, how we call it. We also have scholarships. These ones are at WMU. We help the students to navigate towards that and also find a way to do that. And we also encourage you to be entrepreneurs, to making sure that you get your own business with everything, the skill sets that you get here, and then you grow those business to something different. So we're here for you. Unibe has a platform. We're gonna see a very quick video now in how do we help entrepreneurs and how you can compete every single year based on different platforms and how they can help you navigate towards that. Actually, at the BBA, we don't use the bilingual modality because remember that all of our classes are 100% in English. There's one class which is communication or Spanish 1. That is the only class that you're going to be taking in Spanish. If you're an international student, that we receive a lot of international students in the BBA program, you will see that you will get a different type of class in order to make sure that it resembles the level of Spanish that you have as at that point. But besides that, we don't use the bilingual modality, but you're able to interact with all of the Unibe students that are within the bilingual modality. So that's also a great opportunity to be able to interact with Unibe students from different programs. So you get an interaction throughout the whole university in different ways. We talked about the rankings, and we talked about the main and the number one importance is to every time you look at a university, you have to look at this information because it's extremely valuable. This is how you get that. We're working through a virtual platform due to the pandemic, but for Unibe, we've been in this type of virtual learning for more than 10 years. So it's something that is not new to us. On the contrary, it's something that we really encourage since day one, and probably are the few universities in the country that we were aiming and we were putting our money towards virtual learning since very, very early age. Thinking about virtual learning, for example, doesn't really matter if we're still talking through our computer. Our students are taking classes with people and with students from North Carolina University, with James Madison University, with Broward College, with other colleges in New York City and New York State, and all of that. Like we had an internationalization program. It doesn't really matter if you're part of a dual degree, you will see that and you're going to be participant of that because you get that international connection since day one that you get here at Unibe. It doesn't really matter if you're part of the BBA or if you're part of a different type of program, okay?
Hola, soy Madeline Martínez, la coordinadora del CIDE, el Centro de Innovación para el Desarrollo Empresarial y Emprendimiento que tiene Unibe. Nacimos en el 2005 con el fin de fomentar la educación emprendedora dentro y fuera de toda la universidad. En la actualidad contamos con un programa de mentoría para toda la comunidad de estudiantes, egresados, colaboradores, docentes, donde el CIDE los acompaña en el desarrollo de toda su idea de negocio con formación y mentoría durante 4 meses. Al finalizar el programa, el emprendedor contará con una idea validada y lista para incorporarse en el mercado. También tenemos asesorías en varias áreas como legal, tips, finanzas, entre otras. Todo esto libre de costos. Impartimos talleres, conferencias, charlas, meetup de emprendedores. Todo eso es bueno que tú lo aproveches, emprendedor. Aprovecha esta oportunidad que te brinda el CIDE, donde puedes idear, crear, implementar y vincular. Te esperamos en el CIDE, donde cambiarás tu vida.
That was exactly what I was discussing regarding the entrepreneurial mindset that we got since you got here. You know, learning by doing is something that we take very, very seriously. And it's something that we put the effort and the time for the students to get to know and get to see since day one. And that is extremely important because that's what's going to give you the skill sets and the tools that you need in order to be successful down the line. So I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions, or if you need to ask anything, that you can raise your hand. Remember that you have an office in Galeria 360. You can receive documents there, you can make payments, you can get to know our academic offer. If anything that you need, there's another platform for you to use that is not just being coming to the university itself, okay? We have an app, which is a Unibe app. It is a great tool that students can use. You are able to see your classes, you can make payments, you can meet your academic standing, you can see the academic calendar, you can get to see so many different things throughout there and be connected with the university. So it's an easier step for you in order to be connected with us. We talked about this, and that's extremely important. That's a question that rises most of the time. Do we have any scholarships at the BBA program? With Líderes del Mañana, for example, which is the scholarship for Fundación Hasuri, unfortunately, the English taught courses or programs are not part of that process. But as Unibe, we have so many different other platforms that you can choose in order to make sure that if you need that financing, if you need that, you're able to get it through there, okay? So just make sure that you go through financial aid or ayuda financiera, and then you're able to see all of the allies and all the institutions that you can take into consideration in order to make sure that you get the possible, all the information that you need, and also the vice chancellors of administrative affairs is able to guide you and help you in any way or form, depending on your situation, and making sure to put a plan into perspective for you guys. This is our information. Just make sure that you take a screenshot. Please follow us in our Instagram at BBA Unive. You're able to see everything that we do on a regular basis. This, our WhatsApp number is what it calls Flota de la Escuela. So you can message us there so we can answer all of your questions. These are the office numbers. And my email is this one, depolanco3@unive.edu.do. Please, Nisa or anybody, type it in the chat. If you really want to get a one-on-one conversation with me, with your parents, or with your tutor, or with you to understand a little bit more about what we discussed, or if you have any questions, I'm open to do that. I do that all the time, and I'm here. I was an international student myself, to be honest. And I'm able to answer any questions into more a professional side, which is I'm working in international business and marketing and logistics in a day-to-day scenario. I teach classes like international business, business management, a small business and family business. And I'm also, you know, I was there, I was able to do my internship like Naomi, I was able to do my OPT. So I was an international student, so I'm able to answer any questions that you might have. So I want to take a couple of minutes just to make sure that I go back to you guys, because I'm not able to see you guys right now, just to make sure that if there's any questions or anything that I'm able to reply to them. I don't know, do we have any questions in the chat that we have to follow, or Or if anybody has any questions specifically?
Yes, I have some questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. So I have two questions. The first one is something that I saw when I saw the pensum online, like the one that shows the whole, basically the academic plan for the BBA, and about what you were saying of the scholarships. There's something that I do not sadly get about the Alpha Beta Sigma. Yeah, the honor society. So the pensum said that this honor society is only for students who choose management, business, and other concentrations. So I wanted to know if I understood wrong, or only students who get onto those concentrations are the ones that can get those privileges. Because I thought that they get a scholarship or something. I don't know.
No, if you're part of the BBA program, you're able to actually, you don't have to apply for the Sigma Beta Delta. Normally, you are kind of like you get a nomination. Normally, what you have to be is in a good academic standing at the BBA program, have at least 50% of your academic life at Unibe already done, and maintain a GPA of 3.6 and above. If you comply with those regulations, you're able to get a nomination for that. Remember that Sigma Beta Delta is the Unibe chapter, and once you go to the state, you can apply to other chapters as well. We have students being part of different academic societies. So basically, that's what you have to do. But as long as you're a BBA student, you can be part of the Sigma Beta Delta. You don't have to be in one specific concentration.
Okay, and another question. So I know that business is really, I'll have to say, it's not like a close area, and everyone can go into business regardless of how they are in personality and such. But how does, you said that you were studied, so how do introvert people kind of translate into this area in business? Because that's a fear that I have, because I'm pretty introverted myself, so sometimes I'm afraid that I'm really interested in the career and I have some concentrations in mind and such, but sometimes I feel like, is it going to be a problem if I'm not as extroverted as some people,
Not at all. Actually, we have students that, some of the students that really want to participate in the sales competition at FIU, they're really introverts, and they say, I really, really need to kind of polish my skill sets in order to be in front of people, in order to sell myself, in order to sell the product or sell the service. So I really want to get the tools. You normally get prepared by an FIU professor. And also as well with the professor from the personal selling course. But in general, you start building your skill sets since day one. So it doesn't really matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. We never had any major situation with any type of students. Normally, even introverts, to be honest, are the ones that end up getting 4.0, straight A's, classes, and they will do very, very well. We will do whatever it takes in order to make sure that we prepare you for whatever that you want to do later on. It will be up to you. The great thing about the BBA is we are the business platform, but you don't have to make your decision into which concentration or major you want to go until you are 2 years or so into the BBA, okay? So you don't have to make that decision. When you apply right now, for example, applications are open. So if you go to Unibe right now and go to the admissions department, you click there, you complete your form, and then, but you don't have to choose exactly if you're going to international business or if you go into finance, or if you go into marketing right away. You will have enough time in order to see within the academic plan the different things and what accommodate you. For example, I was considered an introvert, to be honest. And when I decided to do my OPT in the States, I decided to do it in a recruiting firm. I was talking to clients and trying to convince them and all of that. And I took that job in order to try to overcome that. And I think it helped me a lot. And, you know, I'm here now, and it might not seem that way, but definitely, you know, one thing does have to do with the other. So it wouldn't be major problems whatsoever with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Somebody else, JC, I don't know your full name, but you have your hand raised.
Yeah, good afternoon, Diana. My question is, do you consider BBA as the most competitive and difficult career in Unibe at the moment?
When we talked about difficult, I wouldn't say it's difficult, but remember that in order for you to be in a business arena, you need to understand different parts of the business. Remember, a business, it's like a puzzle. You have so many different things that you have to pile up. It's kind of like a Jenga type of game, okay? If one thing falls off, then the business might crumble. This is why you need to understand about human resources, about the marketing, about the operational side, about logistics, about the accounting. Even if you're not an accountant, you need to understand all of that. So I wouldn't say that is difficult. We do have an international curriculum, which means that our level might be higher than the average, because we have to comply in order to have an articulated program. But definitely, I can assure you we are the most competitive one. Whatever you get from us at the BBA program, none of the programs in the country will offer you that for that same amount of time, for that same amount of money, with the same level of skill sets that you're able to get here. That's for sure. But remember, like sometimes for students, you're not so great at the math level, but you're able to cope with all the process, and then you decided to go to sales and business marketing as a major, or international business and management, or international business and marketing, or digital marketing, or something completely different that you might see numbers, but not in the same level of if you go to finance, or if you go to management information systems, or if you go to real estate, or if you go to supply chain. So careers really differ, but that's something that you have to think about once you're past different levels in your academic plan. It's not a decision that you have to make right now. Luisa?
Hi, I have a question. It's necessary to know 100% English for BBA because some of us come or are in schools that are not bilingual. So I would like to know if they grow in the problems during the race.
No, usually we have a lot of students that do not come from bilingual schools, to be honest. Like I was part of a dual degree and I didn't go to a bilingual school. I studied English in like institutes and things like that all of my life. As long as you're able to get the 80 points in your TOEFL score, you're good to go. You are able to be accepted based on the English proficiency level. And then after that, the most important part in here, Luisa, is that we need to understand that we need the minimum requirement to be met, because we're not teaching you English. We're using English as a platform to teach you business classes, okay? So it's different. So you're not gonna see here kind of like an English class when we talked about grammatics or things like that. You might have classes that have to deal with certain purposes of that, but in general, we're not teaching you English classes. We're teaching you classes in English, okay? And this is why you have to be sufficient. But to be honest, I will say that students do not come from a bilingual school normally tend to do extremely well. and even to be in the top 10 percentile of the class, if not getting the highest GPAs of their cohort. So yeah. So
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Leah, I think that Leah was raising her hand.
Yeah, it's Leon. Hey, so I have.
Sorry, I'm not able to see it. Sorry about that. Yeah.
It's okay. Is the SAT mandatory for admission, or if I take the TOEFL and get the required score, is enough?
As I mentioned, SIT is actually an added bonus that you get if you already have a test in place. I know that there's certain bilingual schools that you take it because some of the students are looking to go to an international school and they ask for that, but it's not mandatory. If you don't have an SIT, it is not mandatory. You just take your Unibe exam and you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. IF, I don't know.
Hi, I have a question about the living situation in FIU. I want to know if I saw that they have a lot of buildings where the students live in, so I want to know if I can pick that or it's assigned to me.
No, actually, you can pick wherever you want to live. To be honest, because our students end up transferring as a sophomore, which means that your last year at the university. To be honest, the majority of the students tend to even live outside of FIU. They tend to live and also at WMU. They tend to actually get apartments outside of the university complex and they live close to the university, but not necessarily in the university. But you're able to live inside of the university and you're able to choose whatever apartment you feel is best for you. If you want to share a room with somebody else, or if you want to have, your whole room for yourself, once you get into that point, you're able to choose as you want or as you please.
Okay, I have another question, I'm sorry, and is that if I apply now, when do I know if I got in?
Normally, after you get your application process started, it is very, very quickly. I would say between 7 to 10 business days if your application is complete. When I say it's complete, I'm not talking about your photographs or I'm not talking about the copy of your ID. I'm talking about the academic standpoint, like your high school transcripts, at least until December, for example. And then your essay, and then your letter of recommendation and your TOEFL, or if you come from a bilingual school, then it might serve the same purpose. Once we get that, we're able to get your response very, very quickly, even if you're missing 1 or 2 documents. They're different. Yep.
Thanks.
It should be very fast. We already have people that have been admitted in the program as at this point. Actually, admissions are open since the beginning of the year. And this is something that we suggest to students, like this is probably going to be your last full summer as a break, okay? When you're going to have those 2 months or 3 months, I don't know exactly when this academic year ends because of the pandemic and all of that. But this is probably the biggest break that you will get in a long time. So I would suggest for anybody, if you really know and you make up your decision and you're good to go, apply with time, just making sure that by your high school ends, you already have everything in, and then you know for a fact that, I've been accepted, can take my summer off. If it's possible, I can travel. If it's not, I can do other things. I can take other courses, or you can enjoy your life. We will receive applications until the end of July, beginning of August, but normally we prefer for students to actually apply, as soon as they can. Yeah. I don't know in which order, or hold on. We have a couple other people with their Cheldy.
Yeah, hi. I would like to know where can I take the SAT, please?
Normally, it is not something that Unive actually provides. The majority of the students normally take them in their high schools, to be honest. But as I'm saying, it is not mandatory. If you already have a test that is more than 1,000 points, then you submit that information and you can get a waiver for your entrance exam. If not, you can take Unibe's exam. When we do it like a weekly purpose, you're able to get an Unibe exam. You come to Unibe, it's actually a face-to-face exam that you have to take with all the protocols and all of that. And then you should be good to go. With that exam is more than enough.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Melanie, you raise your hand again.
Yes, I don't know if you know, but by chance, I know that Unive asks for 2 tests of admission that the institution does, the one that is for all careers, the POMA, and the other one for business and engineer, that it's the math test. But I asked earlier on this year, and they said that they were not sure if they were gonna give the math test. By chance, do you know if they are giving it or not?
Yeah, as at this point, with the applications that has been received, yeah, in order to enter the BBA program, is a test in English that you have to take, and you have 2 parts. One of them is a mathematical side that you have to take, and the other one is a critical thinking or case-based type of test. So in that case, yeah, so it's a 2-part test, and it's specifically for the BBA in English. I do have Maciel. Can I apply to the program if I don't have an advanced English? I don't really understand what you mean with an advanced English. As long as you're able to get 80 points in a TOEFL exam or 105 in a Duolingo, you're able to get into the program with no problem, okay? So if you're able to get that, you should be good to go. If for whatever reason you already took a test, for example, if you got lower grades than that, you might have other chances to take it. Or if you really have more specific questions regarding what do you mean advanced English, either you can either send me an email, we can chat, or I can answer. I can tell you this. It took me some time for me, even myself, in order, as I say, I didn't graduate from a bilingual school myself, but I was able to pull through, and I did great. I was able to graduate with honors in the different universities that I had attended. I'm actually an FIU graduate myself as well. So I guess, if you put your mind towards it, and it really depends on what do you mean advanced, it is very hard, to be honest, if you get 40 out of 80 in a test in order to get to 80 points. But in general, if you really are very close, it shouldn't be that big of a situation. Did I like my experience at FIU? Yes. I did love my experience at FIU, and also I love my experience at RIT as well, and also at TC3. I was part of a program that you have to attend different universities in different levels. And to be honest, it is something that changed your life in order to be able to do the OBT and the internship and get to know all these people and network with them. And I use all this networking. I remember that when I got married, when I received my photographs from the wedding, the photographer decided to name it The Tourist, because I basically, all of my friends, I have friends from Egypt, from Kuwait, from India, from China, from Colombia, from Peru, from Venezuela, from the United States, from Mexico, from like all the different parts of the world that you can even think of. And they were able to attend. And even my former boss actually ended up attending the wedding. So all those connections are for, it just stays with you, and then you can use it for so many different things. So it is a great, great opportunity. Road is actually a test that you have both parts. So it's similar to the POMA, but you have 2 parts in the same test. So you take them both in the same day. So it's a special test that you take for the BBA program, and you will have both of them in there, okay? In the complete race, the most used language is English. I don't really know what you mean with that, but for example, English is the language for business, for example. And you will see that you will learn a vocabulary in English for the business side that you don't even have, even if you're part of a international high school, or even if you study English your whole life. It is completely different. I buy products from around the world, and I have to travel a lot in order to get those in different conferences. And people do actually tend to say, hey, like, where do you learn all of this? Like, they have very good, business English and all of that in order to understand all of that. So that's key in that point as well. When and where are we taking the POMA and the math test? All of that is in Unibe's webpage. If you go through admissions, you will see that there is a link for future testing, entrance exams. You will see right there, or if not, you can actually contact admissions, or you can contact us and we can send you the links. Alicia, if you have the links for the exams, los exámenes, cuándo son los próximos y cuándo son las aplicaciones, so they're able to know exactly. You remember that because it's a face-to-face exam, now you have to kind of like save your slot, just making sure that within the protocol that you have for COVID, we're able to give you the space that you need and protect you for that. Giovanna, I'm an international student. I already applied for the program, but the international student documents have to be legalized in our own country before the documents. Yes, normally, Giovanna, you work with the admissions department as long as you have all the documents already deposited at the Ministry of Education for confirmation and all of that part. You should be good to go. You get conditional admitted to the program, and then you work towards that afterwards, and then you're able to submit the documents. We receive every single year students from different parts of the world. Americans coming into the country, actually, because it's cheaper if you combine just how much you will have to pay at the VBA program in order to get 2 degrees and also a degree in FIU and WMU. You're paying half of that. So you even have Dominican Americans that graduated in American high schools, and they come all the way here because it's half the price. Remember that Unibe as well, within the financial aid side, you also can get American student loans. So if you are a citizen or a resident, you can use those student loans in order to make sure that covers your tuition as well. So you can do that at Unibe as well. So as long as you deposit all of your documents, at the admissions department is able to help you and guide you through that in order for you to get a conditional admitted, but it shouldn't be a problem, Giovanna. Yep. Does anybody else had any questions? I want to make sure that I answer all your questions. As I say, exactly. So if you have any questions, you can either message us or send us an email, or write us in a WhatsApp chat, and we are help you to navigate towards the right department for you to have all the information that you need. As you can see, if your parents or yourself or anybody, if you have additional questions, you can just send me an email. We can set an additional call, and then we can discuss any questions that you may have. You can count on that. So I don't know if we have anything else. I don't want to keep you too long. So I don't know, Alicia, if we have anything else, or no? Nisa, do we have anything else, or I think that we cover everything? Correct? Yeah, somebody's saying, okay, if I take the Duolingo and I pass it, must I take the TOEFL? You need 105 points in order to convert at 80 points in the TOEFL. What is the main thing about the Duolingo? Duolingo itself, it is, as of right now, for FIU and WMU and for Unibe, because we have the same admissions requirements, is a now kind of like as an emergency type of exam that students are able to take because we don't want to stop your admission process, because we know that, for example, right now you might have more time in order to get a TOEFL date, for example, but I know that last year was extremely difficult to do because we were in the middle of the situation and we were in completely different parts of it last year. So normally you will have to take the TOEFL again because, as I said, it was an emergency situation, but it will be available for the universities just at the end of the summer semester of 2021, okay? Is a TOEFL home edition valid for Unive? That's a good question for admissions, but yeah, normally I do believe that they have an internet base that you can take from your house, and then also they have another one that is a proctor exam that you have to go through different places in order to take it, and that was the regular one to do. Normally Unibe is a center where you can take the TOEFL. Carter Morgan is a center. I think Pucamaima is a center as well. Dominico Americano is a center as well. So you have different centers in the country. But I do believe that throughout the pandemic, they have both like the internet that you just connect and follow the guidelines, or you can go physically to a specific location and a specific date. But I will figure it out regarding the TOEFL home edition and what that means. If you can write to Alicia in the email there, we are able to find out more about what that means specifically. Well, if there's any more questions, I don't want to take more from you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being so proactive with your questions. They were very, very great questions. I think it is important that every time you think about your future and your education, you ask the right questions, or either you ask the tough questions, because it is your life, okay? So take care, and as I say, I'm gonna copy my email again, just making sure if you have any questions whatsoever, making sure that you can contact me, and I'm here for you to guide you through any process, okay? So take care, have fun this afternoon, do something that you like. Thank you for participating, and hope to see you guys very, very soon at Unibe.